Good Monday evening to you, everyone, and thanks for joining us for tonight's live stream on Wave News Extra. Here we are enjoying just the traffic and looking at the quiet and stillness of the Muhammad Ali International Airport parking garage, thanks to our SkyTrack camera observing South Louisville, quite zoomed in and paid attention to the temperatures, of course. We always might wish for it to be a little bit warmer, but we'll take the pleasant quiet, as it were. And a reminder, we're going to break all of that down so much more in depth tonight on Wave News at 11. But nonetheless, we appreciate you and the time you're taking to join us here in the Wave Now studio as we unpack some of the big days of the story. A lot of it with a credit to our Wave News reporting team for getting up-to-date information, including what we're going to start with tonight was came in sort of just before we started our 6 o'clock newscast, and it was sort of this more revealing update into the case of the threats allegedly made by a Texas businessman against UofL head football coach Jeff Brom, and not just the head coach, but his family and quarterback Miller Moss. So not only do we have a court, and thanks to our Wave troubleshooters for sending in that request, we had the threat against Brom's and his family. We now know the amount that businessman Brian Mandel in this allegation, and the indictment tried to extort from quarterback Miller Moss. If you remember our coverage through it all, Mr. Mandel had turned himself and flew himself to Louisville after learning from the press that there was a grand jury indicting him for making terroristic threats and criminal extortion, spending a day in jail before his father paid $100,000 cash bond, allowing him and them to go home. So I want to play you the first of the texts here from the police report, which we did get a confirmation of. And this was specifically the threat sent directly to Coach Brom's phone, to his account and his phone, according to the indictment and the police report. Quote, "I'm going to find and kill you and your entire expletive family, you piece of expletive." And then police also disclosed in the heavily redacted report, but nonetheless, this is what police are alleging that Mandel sent to Miller Moss. Quote, "I'm going to spend the rest of my life making yours miserable. You cost me $80,000. And so you see the dollar amount confirming what he's alleged to have gambled on the game. And the quote goes on to say, "You can either pay me or suffer the consequences." The victims' names were redacted specifically there. "They will all suffer," end quote. Now, Mandel has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges involved in the indictment at last check. He is set to return to court still in February. He's not allowed, as part of his conditions for bonding out, not allowed to drink, gamble, or have any contact with any of the people he's charged with threatening. And Brom told the media last week, talking to reporters, threats against his family and his players were crossing the line. So one big update we have for you there. The next is sort of this breakdown of more, harrowing video we just got copies of to share with you, of some more of the angles of the final moments of the UPS Flight 2976. The video was recorded through multiple airport security cameras, including one that captured just how low to the ground the plane actually was. So we're going to begin with that. And there's going to be multiple videos. I might have to pause so you can sit on what is going on here. So the camera watches an airport gate opens up onto Crittenden Drive. A few things happening that we might play again. So on the left side is your blast fence at the end of the runway. Grade lane is to the right of your screen where you see the car traffic there. The bottom of the plane was visible on the very top of your screen, which is what I'll replay. Unfortunately, the harrowing stuff right now. You saw the tires there. The blast of air from the jet caused the camera to react, thinking that it was observing multiple items on the screen. And so to that effect, we'll see. This is a version of the video that we have slowed down for you. And you see just very much the top border frame of your screen, and much more clear there, the plane's tail section. The orange glow on the ground from the fire that's already started on the plane, and the plane really barely clears the blast shield and is going to crash within seconds. Moving on to this angle, we're going to go back a few moments in time. This is one of the cameras that captures Flight 2976's takeoff, and at some point, through there, you see at the very top, it shows the initial explosion when the engine ripped itself from the plane, the white smoke leaving the trail as the plane continues to try and fly. The pole in the foreground there is what blocks the main crash. So I'm going to bring you back just to give you more of the context from all these different security videos we do have. And what we're going to show next is what's going on after the crash, catching workers' reactions, 1, and 2, emergency responders. So here we are from video number 4. This is a camera at one of Southwest Airlines gates, skipping every second, but shows the fireball. There you see, and some smoke, the cloud erupting after the crash, which, so awfully tragically killed 14 people in total. Now, at the gate next door is where ramp workers were busy taking care of a specific Southwest flight when an employee, and you see them moving there, notices the fireball, comes out of the bottom of the screen to point at it, tell his associate what was going on, pointing it out to the other ramp workers in particular. And in the 6th video, moments later, airport fire trucks, other rescue vehicles start deploying from the airport's fire station, rushing out. At some point, you see at the very top left here on your frame, you see the smoke cloud just starting to build right there at the top of your screen. The only hiccup in their particular response was the one truck that struggled to get through this particular gate, where UPS 2976 just barely cleared it moments earlier. And so that just sort of inhibiting their initial response to then get the speed they needed to go to where the crash scene was. Now, bringing you back here into the studio, and by the way, all that video, the replay and the different angles, it's part of our continuing coverage on wave3.com, just to revisit just the timeline of the things that we have established so far with video and the things that are to be established, because the NTSB, of course, is still investigating to get to the nitty-gritty, the heart of what they believe actually happened. But with our update on our thanks to reporter David Mattingly for this thing. He talked to the airport's fire chief for the first time since the disaster, showing us how they were trying to fight this massive inferno there at Louisville Muhammad Ali International. They're specially trained and equipped to respond to aviation disasters. In this case, just getting to the fire itself was the challenge. And so we're going to replay some more of the sequences. And in our reporting today, essentially, we learned as firefighters tried to race to the crash scene, when they got there, they were blocked themselves by some down power lines. This is what they were confronting. Once those were cleared, there's the problem of the oil pouring out of the recycling facility that was hit in the crash. And as if the intense heat was not bad enough, there were also the explosions and their own particular problems with water pressure.
Between us and the Air National Guard Fire Department, that's also located on the airport grounds, we collectively flow probably 1,200 gallons of foam. The water supply became an issue on Grade Lane because there's just so many fire trucks hooked to hydrants that the water main couldn't keep up.
And so David did have much more of his conversation with Josh Grimes, Chief of Public Safety for the Regional Airport Authority. In his full report on wave3.com, you can hear Grimes talk about what his firefighters were thinking at the time and why some of them wondered that they might have survived this blistering inferno that was still raging. So highly recommend you head to wave3.com for David's full conversation with Josh Grimes. And some other stories for you tonight and updates. A Louisville woman is accused of killing her boyfriend, and she appeared before a judge for the first time today. Maria Swan charged now with murder. LMPD saying she shot and killed 27-year-old Isaiah Washington at a home on Cedar Street just before 9 Friday night. Police saying Swan and Washington were in a relationship and that Swan admitted to shooting him during an argument. So you're seeing Swan's appearance in court this morning. The judge set the bond at $250,000. Swan will be back in court not too long from now, December 4th, on this domestic violence murder charge. Now, there's another case update. It's of a Louisville man who's indicted for double murder on Derby Day of this year, and he appeared before a judge for his arraignment this morning. And so this is putting you back at the scene of where this happened. 28-year-old Reggie Rahim facing 2 murder charges. This happened around 2 a.m, May 3rd. This is the Kroger on 28th and West Broadway. Of the 3 people who were shot, 2 of them were killed. They died. Rahim entered a not guilty plea in court today. In this case, a judge gave him a $500,000 bond. If he posts that, he'll be let out on home incarceration. In another investigation, no arrests have been made yet following the shooting in the Iroquois neighborhood, and it happened just this morning around 5:15 on Devers Avenue, not far from Iroquois Park. LMPD saying one man was hurt in the shooting, taken to the hospital, but police believe he should survive. They also say all parties in this case have been accounted for, but still no arrests have been made. Bring you back here into our Wave Now studio, where we'll have much more after the break on Wave News Extra, including local nurses' reactions to some new policy changes at the federal government level the Department of Education wants to make, discussing this JCPS decision to pivot from its stance about changing start times for kids within the public schools, and a breakdown of some data when it comes to tackling crime from LMPD. So much more to get into after this break here on Wave News Extra. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. As I'm realizing, maybe you saw sort of our graphic animation with just prepping the stuff we had for you in this block of the live stream. But nonetheless, we roll on. Here's a sort of local reaction and impact to a story with, begins at the national level out in Washington, because in this case, tonight, the Kentucky Nurses Association is responding to the Department of Education's confirmation trying to make plans that would exclude nursing in this case from a list of professional degrees, but there's more to that context. So the change follows the implementation of President Trump's federal spending bill. So if this reconfiguration does happen, graduating nursing students, for example, would only be eligible for half the amount of federal loans compared to other professional degree programs, whatever is considered professional degree programs. So the Nurses Association is defending its own status amid the proposed changes. They're saying difficulties for nurses, future nurses, to access education funding, for themselves to access education funding, could only get worse with ongoing nursing and healthcare shortages. What is new tonight, when I'm reading you, is we reached out to the Bellarmine Nursing Program, of course, highly reputed, and for commentary on what they feel the impact could be from the Department of Education's position and decision. And so we're reading a quote here, a statement we got from Dr. Heather Owens, the Lansing School of Nursing and Clinical Sciences Dean. And she goes on to write, quote, proposed changes in federal financial aid regulations could sideline the nurses Kentucky needs most, negatively impacting healthcare outcomes in the Commonwealth. It goes on to say, Dr. Owen says, Bellarmine University is stepping up, expanding scholarships, building partnerships, and fighting to keep advanced nursing degrees affordable and accessible. She goes on to write, Nurses are the backbone of care for Kentucky's most vulnerable populations, and we can't risk expanding the existing nursing workforce shortage, end quote. Tonight at 11, our Julie Richardson is going to expand on just what nurses in Kentucky, educators, and in these programs believe the short and long-term impacts could be to recalibrate this particular decision. At the same time, we're also following a proposal to start and dismiss JCPS schools 20 minutes earlier starting next school year. Well, we've learned since that is off the table for at least now. Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood announcing today he withdrew the recommendation after some conversations with families and staff, breaking down the plan. So JCPS says the idea for making that 20-minute adjustment to schedules came from some feedback they got from school leaders and staff. Dr. Yearwood saying principals and staff working in schools who don't start until 9:40 in the mornings reported operational challenges, difficulties, and a strain on their staffing. Now, under what was the proposal, schools currently starting at 9:40 and dismissing at 4:20 would have started 20 minutes back. So you move it to 9:20 in the morning, dismissing students at 4 o'clock. The proposal was released Friday, receiving some mixed reaction, particularly from some parents whose kids start school at 7:30 a.m. One father we talked to also emphasized this was not the first time that he can recall JCPS trying to change start times.
While I'm in a flexible position in my job, I can show up here at 1:30 to pick my kids up. I can't imagine other parents who maybe are having to get in line on their lunch hour, and maybe they don't have a flexible job like that. And then who's going to be with their kids maybe until they get off work?
Dr. Yearwood says it is clear more analysis and deeper engagement, as he put it, is necessary before trying to change a schedule like this. Yearwood said his administration is going to focus on considering a wider range of options. He says also the next phase is going to include more feedback opportunities and some more collaborative planning with teachers and parents. Well, Metro leaders released their plan to make it easier to navigate the downtown and Nulu neighborhoods on foot, but also to increase their general safety. The city and the KYTC, the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, say they've been trying to work hard to fix the problems. One of the ways is to restore one-way streets back to two ways so that they're safer for people walking, biking, and driving. That has since led to some streets being closed in the area. Other ways they say they're trying to make things better to improve them is to eliminate traffic lanes for new on-street parking, filling in gaps in the city's bike network, and converting some signal intersections to all-the-way stop signs. To read much more about this walkability plan, it is up right now on LouisvilleKY.gov. And tonight, we're also still waiting to learn some more details about a deadly police shooting that happened Saturday night. This happened in Louisville's Southside neighborhood. Saturday shooting was actually at Southside Drive and Southland Boulevard. Maybe you heard the initial breaking news that we sent out to your phones through the app. It's on the very corner of LMPD's sustained focus improvement areas, and leaders are saying that they want to focus on this kind of crime prevention effort around this time last year, the goal of reducing said crime. So to compile the data and see where things stand, Wave News reporter Logan Perrone went back to the neighborhood today after looking at LMPD's respective crime numbers.
Waking up the South Side neighborhood Saturday night.
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it back here.
The sound of gunshots.
It was crazy. Crazy.
A robbery call turned deadly near the entrance to the Heritage Green Apartments after a suspect ran from police. LMPD says the man pulled out his handgun before officers pulled the trigger on their own.
The suspect was pronounced deceased on scene by EMS. No officers were injured.
Kiera and Marsha Brown have lived there for a few months now and say they haven't seen anything like it. What is visible is LMPD's presence in the neighborhood.
They don't necessarily lock anybody up. I think it's just to make sure people safe. They just walk around, circle every apartment complex there is, just making sure people are safe.
Saturday's shooting happened in LMPD's Sustained Focus Improvement Area 4, one of 5 listed in the 2025 Crime Reduction Plan announced a little more than a year ago. In that time, data shows a decrease in the neighborhood with 17 fewer violent crimes. Across all 5 sustained improvement areas, violent crime has decreased around 30%. LMPD's Public Integrity Unit is leading the investigation into Saturday's shooting. The Browns say they want to see crime reduction efforts continue in the area.
So I feel more protected when I see them. I'm like, okay, the block is safe.
All right, thanks to Logan Perone for that report. And we are expected to learn a little bit more about Saturday's shooting in the next few days, according to his latest reporting. Taking another live view from our SkyTrack camera in South Louisville, observing that zoomed-in look tonight at the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. When we come back after the break, just getting the latest statement on what appears to have been a fight and altercation at a Clark County school and some of the reaction that's been sort of snowballing online, discussing getting ready for Thanksgiving travel, the flu season, which we're already in, much more to that, of course. And we're going to break it down for you after this commercial break. Stay with us on the live stream of Wave News Extra. Welcome back, everyone. We have more to share with you on tonight's Wave News Extra. This is an update from out in southern Indiana and a confirmation, at least a statement from the greater Clark County school system says they're starting their own investigation. There's a video that's been spread and shared on social media about this what looks like a fight that happened in the school, and it's been discussed throughout. What we're going to play you here is what district leaders are saying at Jeffersonville High School administrators. They've learned about a video being shared within the school that shows this incident involving a staff member and the student. The district's post on Facebook going on to say safety and well-being of their students, staff, and school community is their highest priority, that they're actively investigating the situation and have escalated the matter in line with district policy, or that, quote, they say, we're also in ongoing communication with school security as the investigation continues. So certainly conversation driving a lot of social media chatter. We're working our best to see the parties involved and what more we can confirm with you and to share with that with you tonight and whenever we do get those updates. In more stories, we've learned Gravely Brewing Companies, so they're hosting a 2-day party before their big move elsewhere. So right now, if you're familiar with where the brewery is on Baxter Avenue, 514 Baxter, this is going to be their last week at that location before moving to Nulu. And Gravely says to celebrate, they're hosting a going away party on Friday and Saturday. This is a rendering of the new 10,000 square foot location they want to move into at 905 East Main Street. Gravely said it is going to continue brewing out of the old space, and they do have future plans to repurpose that particular property. Well, this is the week to talk not just Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving travel. And the TSA says it's preparing to screen more than 17 million people during this window of the travel season, really the week and the days that are involved. The 3 busiest days in Kentucky when it comes to travel are expected to be already starting tomorrow. then Wednesday, and then the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So there are some things, for example, if you're flying, you could do to get their checkpoints easier. Agents are saying most solid foods can be carried on if you're thinking cookies, pies, cakes, so baked goods, even stuffing, turkey, and ham if that's what you want to bring. But items that are liquid, cranberry sauce, gravy, jam, those have to be in checked bags. Another tip, given just the update to try to roll out as many Real ID programs as possible to have your Real ID ready, or another acceptable form of ID would be a passport to make that particular line much smoother, not just for yourself, but for all those in your party and behind you. And talking now about spending time together with family for Thanksgiving, doctors are also saying that people should expect popping into a flu season just to be mindful and do what you can to protect yourself and others. According to experts, there's a flu strain that's picked up a number of mutations, and it could mean it's able to escape some immunity from vaccines. Wave News anchor Brian Schlonsky talked to doctors at Norton's today on what you should know, again, to keep you and your family healthy.
We are starting to see more children and adults test positive for flu.
Flu season has arrived in Louisville.
We're definitely starting to see flu cases starting to come into the emergency room.
Doctors with Norton Healthcare and Norton Children's say this flu season could be severe. A new variant, a mutated strain called subclad K, hammered other countries like Japan and the UK, bringing high rates of hospitalization and severe illness. Because of that, we need to be ready here in the U.S. for an increase in cases.
Now, this strain emerged after the flu vaccine was formulated. So there's not a perfect match between the strain of influenza A H3N2 that's circulating and the strain in the vaccine.
Norton says that doesn't mean the flu vaccine doesn't work. They say it still does, but the sooner you get your flu shot, doctors say, the better.
But the vaccines are going to take about 1 to 2 weeks before they're going to start becoming efficacious, but then they are going to last throughout the rest of the season. So it's never too late to get vaccinated.
Thanks to Brian for checking in and chatting to the doctors. They say, unlike the common cold, flu symptoms include that sudden onset of fever, plus the body aches, sometimes cough and shortness of breath. And during last flu season, Norton says they themselves saw more than 33,000 cases of doctors and nurses stepping in to try and help folks get through that particular illness. So something to keep in mind as we move forward with the rest of 2025 and beyond, from winter into spring of 26. All right, we're going to take one more break with the last round of stories we do have for you on tonight's live stream. Appreciate your time as always. We'll be right back after this with more Wave News Extra. All right, everyone, here we are on November 24th. But if you see this video playing right now, some folks already have their eyes set on next April. And that means that tickets are already on sale, available to watch the wonderful fireworks for Thunder over Louisville. Thunder at Louisville Slugger Field, again, set for Saturday, April 18th. The Bats are going to host the Toledo Mud Hens for a 2:05 baseball game. After the game, of course, the now traditional to be expected live entertainment before the massive fireworks display over the Ohio River. So general admission for the game itself, the Bats and the Mud Hens starts at $35. Reserved seating tickets start at $41. Let's bring you back here into the Wave Now studio. So this is in the theme, perhaps, of a lot of us were thinking about preparing the Thanksgiving meal, the Thanksgiving dinner, all the different trimmings you do want to have, and accounting for how many people are coming over for dinner. It could be for a table of 6, 8, 10, keep adding to, make the math work out. But that brings in the calculus, the math of making sure the dollars add up for the food you do want to prepare. So that being said, the theme of food prices rising. Many experts say there is such a thing for those who might indulge and say they will, as too much takeout. So ordering food, taking home, even when it comes to delivery as well. So tonight, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa in our Watching Your Wallet series is looking into just how ordering delivery several times a week can still have a pretty big impact on your wallet.
If you're always tapping those delivery apps, listen up. While you can easily order food to your front door, Kim Palmer with NerdWallet says there's a real cost to convenience too. From elaborate coffees to food deliveries and even ride shares. She says this all started to grow in the pandemic, and our need for convenience after has only ballooned. A quarter of Americans are now ordering takeout on these delivery apps at least once a week, according to a study from research and analytics company YouGov.
Sometimes we don't realize how much we're spending on these delivery apps until we actually comb through our credit card or debit card and see how much it's added up to.
Palmer says it's not cheap because you are not only paying for the food itself, but also the delivery fee and a tip, which adds up quickly.
If you are just paying even $50 a week on these delivery apps, if you instead save that money, you could have $2,600 by the end of the year. And of course, you could put that in a high yield savings account, watch it grow. And so it's worth just spending some time thinking about the trade-off and how much this convenience really costs.
Palmer says it's worth thinking about taking a closer look at your receipts from these purchases to remind yourself how much you're actually paying. Also, is the restaurant nearby? Could you just go and pick it up yourself once a week to start to cut down on cost? With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
And so there you have the conversation of trying to make the dollars work, and then perhaps looking ahead to Christmas, having those leftover dollars to perhaps join in giving back to the community. And to that point, there's a lot of Christmas donation drives happening across the country. One more prominent one, as you are familiar here at Wave News, is the Angel Tree program, something that we do support. It's through the Salvation Army. If you're familiar with the sort of concept, is you can select the angel, and on that angel is a list to sponsor a child whose family may need a little extra help buying the gifts that they would like for them this Christmas season. And here is where the Commonwealth connection comes in. Two women from Central Kentucky have been going viral now for a post they did for purchasing those gifts for their respective children, being their angels, as it were. Reporter Alyssa Williams talked to these two women about their own connection to the Angel Tree program.
Many people wonder if they'll ever get their own 15 minutes of fame moment. But for Peyton King and Adrian Rogers, they actually had 15 seconds of fame when their TikTok picking out Angel Tree tags got over 1 million views.
We put it on there because, being an Angel Tree kid can be kind of stigmatized or a little bit embarrassing, I guess. It's different when you're in this situation. But we put the video up and it just blew up.
That feeling of being an Angel Tree kid is something these women know. Both Peyton and Adrian went through the program as kids when their families fell on hard times.
Walmart actually commented on the video and was like full circle moment, because it is, it's like those kids that you're giving to, they're going to grow up one day and they're going to see this, and they're going to remember this. And so they're going to turn around and pay that good deed forward.
While they're helping to make Christmas a little brighter for kids, just as this program did for them, Rogers says this process has still tugged at their heartstrings.
The one that I had chose, it mostly had clothes on it. And it kind of struck me emotional, definitely.
Yeah.
It made me feel really emotional that the only thing that the child was asking was clothes. And, that's so that their family probably struggles pretty bad.
King says she received hundreds of messages from people who saw her TikTok saying they wanted to get an angel or that they were needing help themselves. That's why King is also taking toy donations at her massage studio, Evolve Massage, in downtown Richmond.
It's important to just keep in mind, if you have it, like if you have the money to go to Starbucks and get a coffee, that you could change someone's Christmas.
All right, thanks to reporter Alyssa Williams. King and the duo there of our Angel Tree gift giver says she's taking toys for pay at her studio, meaning if somebody were to donate a toy that they would be able to have the free massage service. So great to see the support across Central Kentucky giving back to kids in our own backyard. A reminder, folks, as we scrub through here, I remind you all the time that our stories are updated as soon as possible, thanks to our Crack Digital team, the stellar work that they do, and all of the different team members we do have, making sure that gets sent straight to your phone through the Wave News app, through the Wave Weather app, all there at your fingertips on the wave3.com homepage. A reminder, you can always connect with us, not just here in the Wave Now studio through the live stream, which of course we always love connecting with you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. We also do that through the Wave Now app, which you can download for free. Make sure that's on your Apple TV, your Fire Stick, your Roku stick, all available there for you. I am always, here to be just someone to bounce those stories off of through our What's Good series. Call, email, reach out on the social media handles. This is where we can start that conversation to make sure we're staying in touch with you and the stories that do matter to you out there in the community. Hope you stay with us for the rest of the night as we get ready to prepare our newscast at 11 o'clock. Our storm tracking team working hard to make sure we know what to expect for this busy Thanksgiving week. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett and the team making sure that work is done and the latest information there for you to know and to be ready. Our original reporting also happening and being worked on right now. Always appreciate your time, folks, and your viewership with us. I'm Jose Sosaya in the Wave Now studio. We'll see you back here tomorrow night at 8:05.